Aloha. My name is Ralph Watts, and I am the president of the Hawaii Conference. You know, it occurs to me that at a moment like this, there are some people that come into our lives, they leave footprints on our hearts, and we are never the same again. That's what I want to say. That's what I want to share when it comes to Elder Shige Arakaki. On behalf of the entire Hawaii Conference and our people, our members, our ohana that live here, I just want to say just a few words of deep, heartfelt appreciation for his life, his leadership, the lasting influence and legacy that he has had here on these islands. He served here as president, and it was during a time period actually that my father, Ralph S. Watts Jr., was the president of the Southern California Conference, and they were colleagues together, they worked closely together, they fellowshiped together, they faced challenges together. And I can remember back in those years at the time I didn't know Elder Arakaki, but I remember my father speaking so highly of Elder Arakaki. They were friends, they were colleagues. So they knew what it was like to be a conference president and the challenges that you face in that role of leadership. And so it wasn't until many years later, I found myself now as president of the Hawaii Conference. And there was a need for an interim pastor at our Japanese church. So I remember contacting Elder Arakaki and just asking if he'd be willing to consider it, of coming out of retirement and living here on the beautiful island of Oahu and provide pastoral ministry and leadership for the church during that transition period of time. Bless his heart. So kind, so gracious, so willing, so generous. He said, yes, I will come. And it was during that time period that I had the privilege of personally becoming acquainted and now having a much better understanding why my father spoke so highly of Elder Arakaki, because now I saw it for myself. This is the reason why. Such a kind, gracious, optimistic man. So dedicated, committed. And I tell you what, God, there's no question that God intentionally infused into his life skills and talents and gifts and abilities that Elder Arakaki so faithfully, graciously returned back to God in service. And so for us here in Hawaii, the ohana that live here, we are so indebted, not just for the years that he committed in leadership as president, but for his gracious willingness to come out of retirement back to the islands and to serve in the capacity as an interim pastor. So grateful, so thankful. And so I just, on behalf of all of us here in Hawaii, and as a president that has followed now in his footsteps, we just want to make sure that we can express with genuine aloha his service, his ministry, his life, his leadership, and the lasting impact his legacy still has on these islands today. And finally, I would just simply say this. You know, God remembers our days and he counts our service. God remembers our days and he counts our service. And that certainly is true for Elder Arakaki. Counts his days, remembers his service. God remembers his faithful service. And so for now, we just simply, from the islands of Hawaii, we say, ahui ho, until we meet again in heaven's paradise. Aloha.